Greetings, General Hospital viewers. Lock the doors and grab your coffee, ladies, because the whispered rumors for late September just landed, and what is coming to Port Charles is downright explosive. If you thought the recent chaos with Jen Sidwell and the WSB was the peak of the drama, you are sorely mistaken. Behind the scenes chatter is heavily pointing toward a massive, earth-shattering double return that no one is officially confirming yet, but the puzzle pieces are all there. We are talking about a storyline so massive it threatens to tear down the very foundations of the town. The writers are allegedly crafting a narrative that dives deep into the darkest, most heavily guarded vaults of Port Charles history, and they are using two beloved, absent characters to light the match. I am hearing that late September will not just bring nostalgia, it will bring a reckoning. The scripts supposedly contain a secret so toxic that it will completely obliterate everything we thought we knew about our favorite family. So, brace yourselves, because the storm that is brewing off-screen is about to crash onto our screens, and there will be absolutely nowhere to hide. If you ask me, the impending return of Cameron Weber and Dillon Quartermain is the exact catalyst this show needs right now. At first glance, the writers are going to play this incredibly safe. We are going to see those classic, tear-jerking soap opera reunions that we all love. Elizabeth Baldwin, who has been carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, dealing with Rick Lansing's intense jealousy, Dante Falconeri's dangerous confession about Rocco, and Lucas Jones venting on her couch, will absolutely dissolve into happy tears when her eldest son walks through the door. Meanwhile, over at the Quartermain mansion, Tracy Quartermain will momentarily drop her sinister plot against Lucy Coe to embrace Dillon. It will look like a beautiful homecoming for two members of a prominent legacy family. But guys, we have been watching this show long enough to know that when two major characters return at the exact same time, it is never a coincidence. I firmly believe that this is not just a holiday visit. Cameron and Dillon are not returning to Port Charles because they missed the autumn leaves. They are running back because they have stumbled onto a hidden agenda so terrifying that they had no choice but to seek the safety of their hometown. The domino effect of their return is going to start the moment they lock eyes across the room at Bobby's Diner. I suspect that during their time away, both of these young men independently uncovered fragments of a massive, decades-old cover-up. They have been digging into the past, and what they found is about to trigger a catastrophic collapse for everyone around them. Let us look at Cameron first. Cameron has always been fiercely protective of his mother. I theorize that while away at Stanford, he accidentally intercepted a digital trail, a locked file, or perhaps a deathbed confession that ties directly back to Elizabeth, Jason Morgan, or even his long-absent father, Lucky Spencer. Cameron is smart enough to know that his family has always been trapped in a vicious cycle of mob violence and WSB entanglement. Whatever he found proves that the tragedies his family has endured were not random accidents or mob casualties. They were orchestrated. He realizes that a shadow entity has been manipulating his loved ones for years, treating them like pawns on a chessboard. On the other side of the country, we have Dillon Quartermain. Dillon has always viewed the world through the lens of a filmmaker. He is an investigator at heart, always looking for the truth behind the polished Quartermain facade. My theory is that Dillon was digging through some old archives, perhaps Edward Quartermain's hidden journals or old corporate footage, and he uncovered a manipulative scheme that the Quartermains were involved in decades ago. This was not just insider trading, this was a cover-up involving lives, power, and international espionage. Dillon realized that his family's wealth might be built on a foundation of blood and lies that no one ever knew about. The true explosion happens when the first domino falls. Cameron and Dillon realize they are investigating the exact same mystery from two completely different angles. When they secretly meet up and compare notes, the puzzle pieces will snap together, revealing a terrifying picture. They will discover that the Quartermain corporate cover-up and the Spencer Weber family tragedies were orchestrated by the exact same shadowy figure. This realization is what will set the rest of Port Charles on fire, because once they know the truth, they instantly become targets. This brings us to the next falling domino, the involvement of the WSB and the dangerous figures currently operating in Port Charles. If this secret involves deep state corruption, Jack Brennan and his WSB operatives will immediately sense that there is a leak. Brennan is already dealing with the fallout of Ross Cullum's death and the missing black box. If Cameron and Dillon bring a historical WSB scandal into the light, Brennan will be forced to hunt them down. The boys will find themselves inadvertently pulling their families into the crosshairs of highly trained assassins who want to bury this secret forever. Think about how this will impact Jason Morgan. Jason just made the ultimate shocking sacrifice. He officially walked away from Sonny Corinthos' mob, risking everything to ensure he could be a safe, present father for Danny Morgan. But if Cameron comes home carrying a target on his back, Jason will have absolutely no choice but to step back into the shadows to protect Elizabeth's son. The domino effect of Cameron's discovery will completely destroy Jason's attempt at a peaceful life. Jason will be dragged back into the violence, and this time, the enemy will not be a local mobster like Jen Sidwell. It will be a ghost from the past with unlimited resources. And we cannot forget about Anna Devane. Anna's currently hanging on to her sanity by a thread. She is suffering from severe hallucinations of Peter August, pushing her down a painful and destructive path of revenge. She is paranoid, unhinged, and losing control. If Cameron and Dillon uncover a secret that rewrites WSB history, perhaps a secret that proves Anna was manipulated or that she unknowingly committed a terrible crime years ago, it will be the final domino that shatters her mind. Completely, Anna could view the boys not as victims to be protected, but as threats to her own fragile reality, making her an unpredictable wild card in this entire scenario. But the most compelling part of this theory is the psychological war that will erupt between Cameron and Dillon themselves. They might be holding the same evidence, but their motivations are entirely different. Dillon, the perennial seeker of truth, will want to blow the lid off the entire conspiracy. He will want to publish the documents, release the footage, and let the chips fall where they may, even if it destroys the Quartermaine legacy. Dillon believes that the truth is the only way to cleanse the town of its sins. Cameron, however, will be terrified. He has seen the body bags. He has seen what happens to people who cross the mob in the WSB. Cameron will want to destroy the evidence to protect Elizabeth, Jason, and his little brothers. He will argue that exposing the truth will only put a bullet in their heads. This ideological clash will create an intense, bitter rivalry between the two young men. They will be forced into a desperate game of cat and mouse with each other, even as the real villains close in around them. To survive this impending bloodbath, I predict that Cameron and Dillon will be forced into an unholy alliance. They might have to turn to the very people they despise to stay alive. Could you imagine Cameron secretly going to Sonny Corinthos for protection, knowing how much it would break Elizabeth's heart? Or Dillon making a backdoor deal with Jack Brennan, trading Quartermaine corporate secrets in exchange for his life? The desperation will push these boys to make choices that mirror the exact sins they are trying to expose, proving that the darkness of Port Charles is inescapable. If this theory plays out, the final domino will completely rewrite the history of General Hospital. A secret of this magnitude will flip the script on decades of storylines. What if we find out that a beloved legacy hero was actually the mastermind behind a historical tragedy? What if a classic villain, someone we have hated for years, was actually framed and completely innocent? The fallout would be astronomical. Innocent characters will be painted with guilt, and the town's pariahs might suddenly be vindicated. Elizabeth and Tracy will eventually realize that their boys are caught in a deadly web, and the emotional devastation will be phenomenal to watch. Elizabeth will have to watch her son become hardened and paranoid, losing his innocence to the very world she tried to shield him from. Tracy will have to face the fact that her grandson holds the power to dismantle her entire empire with a single press of a button. The stakes have literally never been higher. So, ladies, as we move into late September, keep a very close eye on the background details. Look at the lingering glances, the hushed phone calls, and the sudden paranoia. Cameron and Dillon are not just coming home for a slice of pie at Bobby's. They are bringing a ticking time bomb in their luggage, and the countdown has already started. The only question left is, when the smoke finally clears and the ultimate truth is revealed, who in Port Charles will actually be left standing?